Walking bass lines are the heartbeat of many musical genres, providing a rich, rhythmic foundation that keeps the music moving forward. Lots of instruments propel the song with chords, one after another. And bass players play chords too, but unlike keyboard or guitar players, they play their chords, bass players play their chords one note at a time. Think about that for a second. Whether you're a guitarist or a bassist, mastering walking bass lines can elevate your playing, deepen your understanding of music, and just make you a more flexible and viable player. Well, this week, we're diving into the world of walking bass lines, exploring how to build them from chord tones, simple scales. It's a simple little process. We're going to take it apart and put it back together, show you how easy it is to walk your first bass lines. Are you ready? Let's get nerdy. I'm Andy Schneider, career musician turned guitar coach, producer, and author of over 100 books for my publishing company, Seeing Music Books. I was a high school band nerd, then a devoted jazz guy, then a backing musician for great artists in every type of music. From Austin to Nashville to New York City, I've learned from my musical experiences and the great musicians that were there with me. I'm a self-taught guitarist, but I was lucky enough to get the right bits of education early on in my career. Pairing that with the many conversations I've shared with more experienced musicians put me on the path to success, a path that built my skills to become the experienced, confident musician audiences enjoy today. I created the Guitar Nerd podcast to give you simple steps to building and growing your musical knowledge, having greater abilities, and getting that amazing music that's inside of you out and into the world where we can all enjoy it. Whether you're a beginner or experienced guitar or bass player, if you want to make fantastic music, you're in the right place, my friend. Now let's get nerdy. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome, everyone. It's Guitar Nerd Land. Population, you and me. My name is Andy Schneider. This is the place where we talk the nerdy stuff about guitars and bass. We talk the nerdy talk. I love new beginners. Welcome. If you're just taking the plunge for the first time, saying, I'm going to decode this business of guitar playing, I'm finally going to do it. I bought myself a bass. I'm ready to go. I just need pointed in the right direction. Welcome. I want to start your journey off on the right foot. Veteran musicians, you old pros, you, aloha. It's good to see you back as well. Whatever your level, I think you'll find something here to energize your music this week. Seems like no matter what level we're at, it's always a good time to begin. To begin something new. The things that got you to this point, sure, you've mastered, and now it's time to begin something new. And sometimes, just as in all kinds of different art, or in writing, or in business, or in sports, you go back to the original stuff that you learned and look at it a new way, and you'll find new things based on all that experience that you've got up to this point. Well, that's what we're going to be doing here in just 1 minute. We're going to take a look at a beginning process to building bass lines for both guitar players and bass players. Last week, we were talking about the game killers. 3 learning mistakes that, almost every musician, almost every guitar player, I can count on them to make those mistakes in their first year, maybe even in their first month. I know I made all 3 of them, and pretty much every single student that comes through my door needs to work on those things at some point. It's just normal. It's the things that we do on our process, on our journey to becoming better musicians. Well, this week, we're exploring a very essential technique to so much of music, and that's walking a bass line. They're not just for bass players, No, not at all. Sure, I started off on bass guitar, so walking bass lines, especially when I was When I was coming up, everything was based in the blues. The Blues Brothers movie had just come out. 50s rock and roll was not that far behind us, even though we had classic rock and new wave stuff on the horizon. That was going in different directions harmonically and rhythmically. Still, walking a bass line was absolutely what you needed to do, especially if you were going to play bass guitar. Well, then I realized, guitar players play these walking bass lines too. Sometimes they would double my bass part in certain settings, right? Both a guitar and a bass have a pretty good low end, and that's a good place to put that bass line. Of course, a guitar is only 1 octave higher than a bass guitar. So its low end is still pretty low. There's still a lot of good low end down there to explore. And when we say bass line, we don't just mean the bass guitar. It could be, kind of any instrument, but we're going to be talking about bass lines for bass, guitar, and guitar here this week. The walking bass line is a fundamental component in many genres, from jazz and blues to rock, country. You'll hear a walking bass line. Do you know what I'm talking about? That's that bass line, like picture a jazz guy. Bing, ding, 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 ding. That kind of thing. That's one sort of direction of a walking bass line. You also might be boom, ba doom, ba doom, ba doom, ba doom, ba doom, ba doom, 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 doom. Right? You've heard all those things before, and that's what I'm talking about when I say walking bass line. The fundamental component in lots of genres provides a steady melodic bass line. Isn't that the point of the bass? It's both melody, really. It's a little melody that's identifying the harmony by the note choices that it makes. And so it's spelling out the chords one note at a time. And also it's a rhythmic pulse. When I came up, they looked at me and said, "You, kid, bass player, you have the most important job in this band." I said, "I do?" And they said, "Yes, you do, because everybody else in this whole band could just stop playing. And as long as you keep doing your part and you're playing your part correctly, we'll hear the song moving ahead all by your lonesome, young Andy." I went, "Oh, yes, sir. I'll try to keep time, sir." Yeah, it really is true. The bass keeps the time and defines the chords by its note choices. I think that's a pretty cool concept. A guitar player will often play 3, 4, 5, 6 notes at a time. That's how they often are used to propel a song forward, that you hear all of that harmony against each other immediately. If you pulled each note of any of those chords out and spelled them out one at a time, you'd probably have a pretty neat little bass line beginning right there. Yeah. So I know you know what bass lines sound like. The ding, 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 ding. Used to be the doghouse bass, right? The guy with the upright, he played bass lines. Ding, 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 ding. That's what we're talking about, but they can be a lot more musical and a lot less silly than what I just sang to you. Jazz uses walking bass lines, right? That's the quintessential. That's probably where most of this walking stuff really came from. Quintessential genre for walking bass lines. It's a fluid, continuous motion that the bass player strives for in that music. In blues, it adds a depth, the groove, by its note choice and its rhythm, really propelling that 12-bar blues progression. Rock and country occasionally also use walking bass lines. It adds movement, it adds interest, and it also harkens back to those musical origins of jazz, of blues, that were born into and became part of the fabric of both rock and country. Well, we already talked about how a walking bass line is kind of like playing a chord one note at a time. The notes chosen, the notes you play, are suggestive of the chord you want the listener to hear. So every single note counts. So here's a great way to start. Start with any chord, like C major, C, E, and G. I said the names of each note until I was confident, yes, I've got them. And in fact, if you have to, write them down. It's really easy to do. It's easier than keeping things in your head. C, E, and G. Okay, so I'm going to make up a little game. I can play anything I want using just those 3 notes. I'm going to keep the rhythm really steady, okay? Just quarter notes is fine. And I'm going to start every measure on C, just for now. Bass lines don't always start on the root, but generally. So in this game, I'm going to play C, E, and G. Right? Those are from my chord. C, E, and G. Here they come in no special order. Okay, that was just 3 notes, but it kind of went somewhere. It's a little bit interesting. I kind of liked it. And if somebody was singing on top of that, they would have had a nice rhythm to sing to and all the right notes. Now, I held all of those notes right where they were. Same exact notes that are in the chord. C, E, and G. But now I'm going to get a little bit creative, and I'm going to say, okay, any nice low C or E or G is fair game. And there are a couple of those notes. In fact, like E and G, there's 2 of those I could choose from. I could play C, E, and G up here. That's on the 4th and 5th string. Or maybe I play it on the 5th and dive down to the 6th string. C, open E, G, 3rd fret on the 6th string, and back to C. Okay, not too bad. Adds a little bit more pepper to the whole mix, doesn't it? A little bit more excitement, and it's got a little variety. Just because it's going up, it's going down, it's going back and forth, so it keeps your ears fresh. So now I'm going to do that exact same experiment, and this is just a wonderful exercise that you can just make up and noodle with it anywhere to get your fingers and ears accustomed to playing these lines. Same game as before. Start on C, play the rest of the measure using anything, C, E, and G, and repeat. So I've got 2 octaves now that I could play in, and I'm going to play again, bass line, C, E, and G, no special order. Here they come. Okay, my bass line is starting to get a little bit more interesting because I've got a couple of octaves. I still stick to the basics, just playing the chord tones, C, E, and G. And there you have it, a very simple but usable, very presentable bass line. Now, a lot of bass lines get more involved, adding chromatic notes, adding working from different scales. And we're going to be talking about those in upcoming episodes. I plan this to be a 3-part series. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about moving your bass lines ahead, getting a little bit more fancy with them, adding a little bit more color and embellishment, and working on the line and the energy that they come with. So this week, give a try to taking your favorite chord, figure out the 3 notes that make up most all chords. If it's C, it's C, E, and G. If it's A minor, it's A, C, and E. Take your chord apart and make up a little game saying, I'm going to stick to just those 3 notes, quarter notes each time, and I'm going to walk back and forth until I feel like I'm kind of happy with the interest of that bass line. It's a fun little game, and you can do it anywhere, anytime. Anytime you got 5 minutes, practice your bass lines. Okay, did that make sense? Take a chord, spell it out note by note, and define those as the notes of your next bass line. It'll work great. It'll sound great if you've got another player that can play those chords with you. By all means do. Hear your bass line in action and how well it works with those supporting chords. I don't have to tell you, scales are the building blocks of music. Understanding them helps you navigate the fretboard and create smooth and more melodic bass lines. It's absolutely essential to have a familiarity with both major and minor scales, where they are on your instrument and how to really put them into motion to make better walking bass lines. Well, if you're looking to deepen your understanding of guitar or bass music theory, why not check out my books? My books on seeingmusicbooks.com. One is Guitar Theory, Nuts and Bolts. That is the guide to understanding the hows and the whys. Why is that the scale? Why does that scale support these chords? Hey, that's a good question. I think everybody wonders that eventually. What is the interplay between scales and chords? I've put it all in these books to make it very easy to understand. Little exercises to get your fingers walking those things that you just read, both for guitar players and for bass players. There's Guitar Theory, Nuts and Bolts, and Bass Guitar Theory, Nuts and Bolts. And of course, there's a left-handed version. That's right, they're packed with essential knowledge to help you really understand scales and put it into motion to understand that relationship to the chords they build. Very valuable information. Look for them on seeingmusicbooks.com in the bookstore section. Okay, do you feel comfortable with the idea of bass lines and walking them? I hope so. It's a simple exercise, taking the notes of a chord, breaking it down, saying the note names to yourself, and then playing from just those notes. Pretty easy way to go. Let's try a little exercise. This is the nerd out for all of you more advanced players if you've been playing some bass lines. Here's an interesting way to advance a song. Maybe a way that you haven't thought of, especially if you are a guitar player, right? We, as guitar players, think our job is play chords. Chords. Well, how about adding a little bit of variety? How about adding a little bit of variety to the menu by breaking up the chordal movement and replacing it with a walking bass line? Yeah, you can do this whether you're playing with just a vocalist, a soloist, or you're playing with others. It might be a really interesting thing. Imagine verse 1 and chorus 1, you're playing chords. Verse 2, you start walking. Hey, nobody saw that coming, and it's going to support the song just as well. Let's take a look at a simple song. I'm going to write a little song here using just C, F, and G. You ready? Here's an open C, an F, and a G. And I'm going to go back to C. So it's C, F, G, C. C, F, G, C. C, F, G, and back to C. I'm going to play one round of that. 2 measures each, 2 Cs, 2 Fs, 2 Gs, and then back to 2 Cs. And then that cycle is complete. First, I'm going to strum it, and then I'm going to walk it. Check this out. See what I did? Followed the exact same instructions that we used in the little game that we made up earlier, the exercise game. of using only those chord notes to build my bass line. Sticking to that, giving myself little game rules to stick to, kind of helps you keep on task, kind of helps you keep your eyes on the same mission and making a great bass line. So there it was. 2 C's, 2 F's, 2 G's, and 2 C's, sometimes chords, sometimes walking bass lines. And just doing a little exercise like that, if you do it with a metronome, even better. It's just a way to move a song forward in a fresh and original way. Some chords, some walking bass lines. Why not? Walking bass lines are a versatile and essential technique for both guitar and bass players. By building them from the chord tones, you can create smooth, melodic lines that enhance any musical genre, and you can propel the song forward rhythmically. Pretty cool. Thank you, everybody who's been subscribing to this podcast and following on social media. I owe you a big old bear hug. And if you happen to have told a friend about it and they're finding this show useful too, well, then I owe you a bear hug and a big old kiss. Yeah, like my puppy gives me a big old kiss on the... Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you, because the numbers show we're growing. We grow day by day, and that's all I want, is to make better music for the world, and we can do it all together the old-fashioned way, one musician passing on knowledge to the others. That's how I learn music, and that's how maybe someday you're going to pass on music and the gift of it to somebody new, to the next generation, right? Yeah, I think so. Next week, we're going to be talking about game killers again. Oh, but not the practice room kind. Not really. Yeah, we're talking like equipment game killers. Yeah. Pedal board mistakes. Ooh, dum, dum, dum. Do you have a pedal board? Have you ever tried hooking up a pedal board? How did it go? Did you get it perfectly the first time? Or did something seem a little bit funny? Did it make a little bit of an ugly sound from time to time? Ooh, or does it make an ugly sound all the time? Yeah, they'll do that. There's a few common pedal board mistakes. They're very simple. Little things, little tidbits you might miss about how you hook things up together to make a much better chain overall and something that's much more musically usable. Game killers, big old pedal board mistakes. That's what we're talking about next week. Stay tuned. You got great music inside of you, everybody. Let's put some bass lines into the world this week. Yeah, you want to? I do. I'm ready to get going. Let's get it out. Let's get that music that you need to be making. Let's get it into the world. You're one day closer, and now you got bass lines to add to your kit bag. Good for you. Get going on those little practice exercises. Everybody's going to want to hear your bass lines. You can do this. Experiment with those walking bass lines. See if they don't transform your playing. Then stay tuned, because we're going to be talking in future episodes about how to take those ideas and really expand upon them, really make something even more colorful. Listen to your favorite songs and identify if they're using walking bass lines. Listen to some old blues or country or jazz. You're going to hear that walking bass line. Maybe you've never heard it before. Try incorporating these walking techniques into your own music this week. Until next time, have a great nerdy week. I'm Andy Schneider, and you've been listening to Guitar Nerd.